I grew up with a love of the hills and the out-of-doors. John Clymer was born in Ellensburg, Washington, on the rugged eastern slope of the Cascade Mountains, a beautiful natural setting that was to have a strong influence on him personally and professionally. He wondered, how can I make a living and stay in the mountains when I grow up? As a youth, John would accompany his father on fishing outings and ponder this question. Sitting by the river with pole in hand, he would think about his future. I had always liked to draw, and after I studied the top illustrators in the magazines that came to our house, I decided to become an artist. In his teens, Clymer was struck by the illustrations in Cosmopolitan, Hearst International, and other publications. He reasoned, yes, that's what I want to do. If I become an artist, I can make a living and settle where I want. One of the foremost and most respected artists of the Western scene, John Clymer has a list of honors which speak for themselves. He was a 3-time winner of Cowboy Artists of America Gold Medal, 1970, 1972, and 1973. The National Academy of Western Art awarded him a gold medal in 1974 for his oil painting of Sacagawea. In 1976, he won the prestigious Prix de West Award for his oil Out of the Silence. The coveted Rungius Medal was awarded to John in 1988 for his wildlife paintings. His works have appeared in the Glen Bow Museum of Calgary, Canada, the Buffalo Bill Historical Center in Cody, Wyoming, the Idle-Yor in Indianapolis, and Oklahoma City's Cowboy Hall of Fame, as well as in many distinguished museums and private collections throughout North America. Clymer's first art training began during his high school years. He enrolled in a correspondence course, spending more time on his assignments by mail than on his regular homework. Soon he was doing posters for the local rodeo. The drawing of his first published assignment in the Ellensburg Rodeo is on the door to your right. In 1924, when a junior in high school, John invested all of his savings in a Colt pistol, but was promptly reimbursed when Colt Firearms bought 2 of his pen and ink drawings to use for national advertisements. He was delighted, and he knew he was moving in the right direction. A young John Clymer headed for Vancouver, British Columbia, 1 week after high school graduation. For the next 11 years, he studied, took on full-time jobs, accepted freelance assignments, traveled, and worked his way up from billboard painter to illustrator for major Canadian publications. Early in Clymer's Canadian career, the rigors of his strenuous schedule caught up with him, and his doctor recommended 1 full year away from the pressures of the drawing board. Temporarily putting his art equipment aside, John got a job as a hand on the paddle wheeler Thistle, which brought supplies to the sparse trading posts of the Yukon territories. This experience would serve John well, providing him with detailed subject matter for magazine illustrations of northern adventure stories and the Gold Rush era. Clymer started to exhibit his paintings and was made a member of the Ontario Society of Artists and an associate of the Royal Canadian Academy. He studied painting at 2 noted institutions at this time, the Ontario College of Art and the Vancouver School of Decorative Arts. About this time, encouraged by a new commission and a firm financial position, he married his childhood sweetheart, Doris Schnebley. She was also born and raised in Ellensburg, and this partnership was one that would help create some of his finest works. In 1936, he returned to the States to study under Harvey Dunn at the Grand Central School of Art. Under the tutelage of Dunn and others, John Clymer found that America's publications, Cosmopolitan, Good Housekeeping, Red Book, Woman's Home Companion, and various ad agencies sought the talents of his brush. Enlisting in the Marine Corps during World War II, he was assigned to the staff of Leatherneck magazine. He painted a series of pictures depicting the history of the Corps, seal poaching in Alaska, the Boxer Rebellion, the First Korean War, and various naval battles, The original of these works now hang in Marine Corps headquarters in Washington, D.C. Probably the best known of Clymer's commercial works are his Saturday Evening Post covers. From 1945 to 1962, he created over 80 covers for the publication. He and Norman Rockwell were the only artists who were allowed to choose the subject matter for their covers. Many of Clymer's covers were set in the Northwest, but he also ventured to New England and to the South for inspiration. Magazines such as Field and Stream, Sports Afield, and others were also hiring John to create their covers. Commissions from many of America's largest corporations, such as the Chrysler Corporation, New England Life Insurance, Esso Gasoline, and the Pennsylvania Railroad, were awarded to Clymer during this period. Through the years, John modestly gave much credit for his success to his mentors, George Southwell for having taught him basic technical proficiency, N.C. Wyeth and Harvey Dunn for teaching him how to approach a painting thoughtfully. Wyeth's impact was such that John patterned his daily work after the senior painter and also learned to value painting outdoors. There is no other way to know the perspective of values and color. Under Harold von Schmidt, he became familiar with the importance of motion. Through this celebrated artist's works and words, John developed a forceful presentation of movement and action. In the early 1960s, Doris Clymer, long a student of history, convinced her husband to do an historical painting, bull boats going down the Yellowstone River. It was a subject John had recalled from his early Yukon days. He took the work to a prominent New York gallery to be exhibited. The painting was sold in a few days. This was a happy revelation to Clymer. He could paint and easily sell his fine art canvases. It was to be a turning point in his career. John realized this was going to be his life's work, to document the settling and civilization of the American frontier. Doris's grandparents had been early settlers who traveled the Oregon Trail. She had family diaries and stories depicting this treacherous westbound journey. With Doris at his side to help research, together they could accurately depict important historical events as well as daily pioneer life. John retired from illustration and corporate work to paint his own interests at his own pace. The Clymer family moved to Teton Village, Wyoming, at the foot of the breathtaking Grand Teton mountain range, where John could study the movement of elk, moose, and deer from his studio window. Many of his wildlife paintings now reside in the National Museum of Wildlife Art in Jackson, Wyoming, along with a faithful recreation of his studio. John Clymer is more than the sum of the parts of the past masters who taught him, just as the boy is father to the man. John Ford Clymer, long a master in his own right, has added his influence to generations of future Western painters. With his talented brush, he created an authentic vision of the West, and through him, our heritage has been preserved and celebrated.